All right, guys, we are here in the shop with a 2004 F-250. It's actually a buddy of mine's. It's been to two different shops. He spent a significant amount of money, and the issue was it wouldn't start when it was hot. Started fine cold, ran fine cold. They had identified, the first shop had identified that it had a high pressure oil leak at the back of the passenger bank, but they weren't able to figure out what it was, and took it to another diesel shop. They couldn't figure it out, said they had pressurized it with nitrogen. So I learned a lot. I hadn't really worked on any 6.0 prior to this. Got a lot of experience with the 7.3, but I just want to go through a few tips that I found made diagnosing this a lot easier. First thing was, it was important to get the engine all the way up to temperature before we did the air test. What'll happen when they're cold is the oil will be thick and it won't exert the problems with the pressure. The air will actually seal up. The second thing I figured out was we went down in the passenger wheel well. I actually took the tire off because I could hear that it was leaking from the back down here, but you really couldn't see it when you had the, from the top side of the valve cover. So by doing that, I was able to identify that it was coming from the bottom of the oil rail. I mistakenly replaced all the seals, the ball rail cups, everything in there, and that didn't solve it. Pulled it back apart again, and then I put the whole assembly up on the workbench and figured out a way, and I've got another video about that, how to pressure test that unit. I was able to isolate the fact that there was nothing wrong with the oil rail itself. So at that point I realized it had to be the injectors. Even though if you watch a lot of videos, they'll say the spool valves won't cause a hot no start issue, but that's just not the case. So what I did is I made this. I just took an old ball cup, and it's not a very pretty weld, but I welded that there to a 1/4 inch nipple, and I put a 45 on it. Without the 45, you're not able to get it back in there with the air hose. It just doesn't have enough space. Pressurized each one of the injectors, starting at the front, working my way to the back, and the first and the second one were not leaking any air. Got to 3 and 4, bingo, there was the problem. They were leaking a significant amount of air and oil. With the ICP, with the air tester hooked up, it was leaking a significant amount of oil from those back two injectors. I tried to clean the spools to save him money, to no avail. So we just went ahead and put a couple new injectors in there. This thing's got really high miles. Probably should probably have a new set of injectors put in it, but we're not going to do that right now. Anyway, that cured the problem. She's got a little bit of a long crank still. This injector here was leaking a tiny bit. It's probably a culprit. There might even be some other leaks over there, but it starts every time now when it's hot. So anyway, hopefully a couple of those tips will help you guys if you're struggling to cure your no hot start issue. Good luck.